Hello, this is Wmpyr, here back with the podcast style of recording. So please just treat this kind of like a radio, okay? And I want to talk about multiple things. One of the main focuses I'd like to talk about is the private lesson that I held today. A student came in and did a private class in person, so it wasn't online. I also do online and I enjoy that as well, but it's extra nice when they come in person. But yeah, before I get into that, real quick, I want to talk about emotion, right? And, when I think of emotion, and then of course we're talking about like martial arts and stuff, the famous movie Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. The scene where he is teaching the kid, right? and I'm sure you guys have seen it. If not, you could easily look it up on YouTube. I'm sure there's videos floating around. I haven't seen that movie or that scene in a very long time, but it's still fresh in my mind. And in it, he tells the kid to, he goes, kick me, right? And the kid throws a side kick, and Bruce Lee goes up to him and he goes, what was that? An exhibition? And he's like, I want emotional content. Now try again, right? So then the kid, it's like, oh, okay, you bastard. And he throws the kick. This time he's angry. And then, this is where Bruce Lee's like, not anger. That is the wrong emotion. And then the kid, this third time seems to kind of get it. And Bruce Lee is happy with what the kid did. And then he goes, how did that feel? And the kid goes, let me think. And he hits the kid, lightly on the top of the head. And he's like, don't think, feel. And then that famous quote is like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't look at the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. And looking back on it, so yeah, he's talking about emotional content. What did he mean by that? What did he mean by emotional content? And I'm thinking where me having experienced teaching for many years now. When I ask a student, hey, demonstrate the technique. And if they just kind of demonstrate the technique like, okay, blah, like they just do it blah, 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 blah kind of way, then it's like, hey, do it properly. So I think that was the first one where the kid, he's like, show me a kick. And the kid's like, okay, I've been practicing. I've been throwing this kick. Okay, here's just another kick. And Bruce Lee was like, no, don't throw it like that. Every technique, like do it properly, throw it like you mean it kind of thing. And that, I think that's what he meant, right? And then the kid's like, so that second time he gets angry because Bruce Lee said, put in some emotion into it, like you mean it, kick it like throw the kick like you mean it. So then the kid, gets angry and throws a side kick. And then I think, so it's like, okay, isn't anger an emotion? Yeah, it is, right? So what did the kid do wrong there? And then I think the third one answers it, where if you watch, they kind of move together. Okay, so now the kid and Bruce Lee, they're connected now. So the kid is now reading Bruce Lee's movements, So then, that's what Bruce Lee was looking for. It was something even higher than just throwing the kick with good form, right, and with proper intent. He wanted that connection. So the problem with anger, I think we know a lot of times, is that if you throw something out of anger, it makes you blind, right? The rage just makes you not pay attention to the opponent, and you just gonna do what you want to do kind of thing. So that's probably what Bruce Lee didn't like about anger, and he was telling the kid, not anger. you know. And I believe there is a time and place for anger, okay? But if you look at that movie later on, there's a scene where Bruce Lee fights O'Hara, right? The character O'Hara, and when they go at it, Bruce Lee kills the character O'Hara, right? And when he does that, I mean, throughout the fight, Bruce Lee is very calm and relaxed, even though he's thinking about his sister. So this is his revenge, because O'Hara basically killed his sister, right? Made her kill herself, made her commit suicide. So Bruce Lee should be super upset, right? But he doesn't let it interfere with his combat genius, right? He doesn't let that affect his fighting in a negative way. So he's doing everything that he does, so which is, you know, if you watch the fight scene, it's just, you know, perfect timing, amazing stuff that he's doing, right? Of course, it's Bruce Lee. And then when he finishes O'Hara, that's where you finally get to see that there is the anger, like where I'm talking about the close-up, the zoom into his face. And you could see the emotion. Oh my goodness, the emotion is, you know, that's where, if you want to know if he was a good actor, well, there you go. The emotion is incredible. So you see him at first, I think it's a tremendous amount of anger, but then it turns into sorrow. And you could see that in that one shot. At least for me, that's what I see. And it's a brilliant scene, and it done by a brilliant actor, martial arts, a real life martial arts genius actor. And it's an amazing, amazing scene. But anyway, so I guess what I'm trying to say here about emotion is that, you know, to me, there's different kinds of emotions, right? It's like a rainbow. And for many years now, I've been telling you guys that emotion, you know, is just a tool. You know, we live life, and there is something called emotion, and it is a tool to. It's kind of like, maybe a tool is the wrong word, but like it is a tool. But I want you guys to see it kind of like as a spice, right? So like when I eat cereal in the morning, I put cinnamon on there. I have cinnamon powder, so I put that on there. It's a little bit of spice, and it adds extra flavor to the cereal, and there's health benefits, right? So it's a win-win situation. To me, that's an emotion. You're living life, and you're doing, you know, whatever it is you do in your normal life. And emotions are there to spice up your life. You know, those feelings there are there to, you know, make you feel, instead of just being a robot and just go through your daily life, same thing over and over. Instead of doing that, the emotions change stuff, okay? And it's a very powerful tool, and you want to use it positively. It could be used positively, or it could be used negatively. So in combat, in martial arts wise, right, in combat, if you use anger to where it blinds you, and you just trying to do what you do, and you run after the guy, and then he might knock you out with a counter move, right? So then that's anger used incorrectly. Or maybe you could even do the same thing with fear. You're so afraid to stand up and strike with this guy because the guy is like an elite kickboxer and you're a grappler. So you're so scared that you just charge at the guy trying to take him down, and you eat a counter. Okay, so that's also fear being used incorrectly, right? But like, let's say you could use fear positively, to where, you know, you're afraid. So there's that famous thing about, what was it, Mike Tyson was training in the winter up in, I think it was New York or somewhere, where it was like a record cold winter, and one of the guys, I don't know if it was a boxing promoter or somebody, saw Mike Tyson running in it in this snowstorm, and he said, "Mike, what are you doing out there?" And he's like, "Well, I'm running, I'm training." He's like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I know my opponent isn't doing this right now." So it's to make sure, maybe he wasn't afraid, but I'm thinking it's because you don't know what the opponent's bringing to the table. You don't know how hard they're training, so you want to make sure that you're going to be training more. To me, that is kind of fear driven, but in a positive way. So the emotions can be very, very powerful. They are powerful. And if used correctly, they could really, really boost your life. And if used incorrectly, they could really, really hinder you, right? And then I heard something very interesting today. I was watching a very weird documentary. And in it, this one person said something. I don't know who this person was, but they said emotions are very powerful. So that's something I just said right now. And that it is very valuable. It is something unique, very unique to humans, is what this person's saying, which I don't agree with, because I feel like animals have wonderful emotions too. But it's saying that if you have something very unique and powerful like emotions, then you shouldn't squander it, that you should treasure it. Or like if you had a bunch of oil, or gasoline, or any kind of very valuable resource, would you just waste it? No. So she was saying that emotions is the same thing, and that you shouldn't waste it. And I was like, wow, that is a viewpoint that I never thought of before. So me going on every day in life, that is something that I would like to remember and use, or should I say, appreciate emotions, and try to use it more in a smart way, in a more beneficial way. So that is something that I would like to do. And if you don't control emotions, or you don't, I hate to use the word manipulate, but if you don't, and you just kind of let the emotions take over, then I've seen people like that, and their lives are miserable. Yeah, they just kind of like, it's very easy to kind of tend to focus on the negatives, and these are very negative people, and they're Debbie Downers. You don't want to be around people like that. They'll suck the energy out of you, and they themselves are like depressed, unhappy. And also, we humans, we naturally manipulate, and manipulation is another thing. We can do it positively, or we can do it negatively. Negatively is 100% self-serving, 100% you acting in a horrid way, immature, horrid, horrific, tyrant, tyrannical way, and using emotions as a reason to do it. And that is horrible. It's you're not using your smarts, you're not using your brain, your logic, stuff that makes sense. You're not doing any of that. You're just being selfish. You're just being childlike and insecure, and all these horrific things. So that's something that I learned the hard way, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's just something I've been saying to you guys for many years about emotions. But the new thing today is what I just said earlier about seeing emotion as a valuable resource or a valuable commodity, and treating it that way. So that's something new, and yeah, that's something I like to recommend for you guys. Okay, so then now I'm sorry I'm all over the place, but the next thing is I want to talk about the class today, right? And so my student came in today, and we did a little bit of partner drills. So we did the usual, the diagonals, which is diagonal downwards and diagonal upwards. I like getting as much repetitions of those as possible, just because I feel like the diagonal lines a lot of people are not familiar with. They just don't, you don't encounter it so much in your normal everyday life, diagonals. We encounter stuff that's coming straight at us, the stuff that's coming from the side, you know, stuff that's coming from the top. But diagonals, I think, is rare, more rare and more confusing. So I feel like it's really, really good to get that as much as possible into your memory bank. So we did some diagonal partner drills, so the diagonal angles of attack. And then we did a little bit of toppy, which is, you know, I'm holding the stick, my student's holding the stick, and we're throwing punches at each other, and we are parrying, essentially, is what we're doing. When we take turns, you know, back and forth, back and forth, we did a very minuscule amount of sombrata. And we also got into Heaven 6, right? And Heaven 6 is another one that I feel like you really can't get enough reps. I know a lot of people probably feel like I've done enough Heaven 6, and it's like, no. You could do this literally for the rest of your life, and you still don't have enough reps, kind of thing. So definitely. You know, I feel like back to the basics. Think about a boxer, right? A boxer is practicing the same, 5 punches, you know, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, overhand on the bag every day. So it's kind of like that. If a boxer can do that, well, you know, we could do the same thing, you know, with the angles of attack and the Heaven 6 and stuff. So, yeah. To me, those are excellent drills there. And then we went into stick disarms. The way that I teach the disarms, and first I told my student this too. I said, look, right now we're just trying to learn the proper body mechanics. You're just learning the technique, in other words. Learn the technique. Don't worry about practical application. We're not going to do that right now, you know, and that alone, there's there's tons of people that will dispute and say disarms can't be done in real life anyway, right? So I'm not one of those people. I 100% believe that disarms can be done, but I do feel like there's a lot to it, and the conventional idea of disarms is not doable, is not practical, not usable in real life. So it is definitely a problematic and like tricky area, but I do still think it's valuable to practice the disarms. And then, like I said, I do believe at the end of the day that they are doable, and they are possible. Okay, it's just it may take a lot, but basically I only teach 2 types of disarms. That's it. I know in Filipino martial arts there's easily like you know, I've seen videos and stuff where other instructors are teaching like 20. I teach 2. Okay, over and under. That's it. That's it. The rest to me are all variations. Okay. And so the thing that we did today, last time we did the same thing. We did stick disarms over and under. But this time what we did today was, okay, so if my student has the weapon in his right hand, so he was just holding a stick, a Escrima stick, in his right hand, and I am going to do the disarm with my left hand because I'm facing him and my left hand's right there, you know, can easily encounter his right hand. So I'm using my left hand to do the disarm against his right hand, right? And so what we did today was he's holding the stick with his right hand. I use my left hand to disarm him over and under, so 2 different disarms. But then I used my right hand against his right hand, and I disarmed him over and under. So same thing, whether I use my right hand or my left hand, it's still over and under. But it does feel a little different. So that's definitely something you got to practice. And we did. And as you do that, you're going to notice certain nuances. Yeah. Like one of the things was if the stick could slip out, or the person is, sometimes if you don't have it locked up good, they could easily readjust, things like that. And, all that is it's real. Those kinds of things will happen in real life, making the disarm harder. And of course, there's counters to counters, and there's things that you can do. But right now is just working on the mechanic itself, not trying to make anything complex. So that was one of the things that we did. And it's very important for me to say that to the student, especially when we're doing disarms like this, where we just kind of like started with the disarms. This is, to me, very, very important, because I see so many people practice disarms in Filipino martial arts, and, they get very, very good at it, demonstration-wise. And in the partner drill, they do it back and forth to each other, and they make it look easy. And in fact, it is easy. When you have that much repetition and you're that skilled, it is easy, honestly. And to the normal person, it looks like almost like a magic trick. It's like, wow, really? You could not only disarm the guy that easily, you could launch the weapon, in the direction you want and stuff like that. You could do some crazy stuff. You could take away the weapon, and now you have 2 weapons, or you could launch it at his buddy, or you could do all kinds of crazy stuff in a demonstration environment, in the dojo, where it's a partner drill, where it's pretty much you're cooperating, right? So that is something that I tell my students, that this is not realistic. Okay, and it's not to dog on the technique. The technique itself is meant for combat. It is meant for the battlefield. It is meant for self-defense. But the training method, the way that we're training, the way that we're practicing, the way that we're doing it right now in the dojo is not combat ready at all. And to me, that's extremely important to let the student know that, right? Is that we need further evolution in order to make this stuff practical. And if you don't say that, and I feel not only that way about the disarms, but also with pretty much all the partner drills that we do in Filipino martial arts. And that is something that I told my student today, and I think it's extremely important. It's the simple question is, okay, Wmpyr, if you don't think they're combat ready, which these drills, these partner drills, if you don't think they're partner ready, partner drills are combat ready, excuse me. If I don't think the partner drills are combat ready, which I don't, right, then why do you practice it? And that's a very fair and good question. It really is. And the answer is, it's attribute development, okay? And if you don't understand actual combat and you do these drills, it's not going to help you at all, because you don't know what you're doing these drills for. You don't know when to apply it. You don't know what combat is. Then how can you apply this stuff into something that you don't know? That would be like a plumber who has a hammer, a wrench, a full set of tools. So you have the tools, but you don't understand the way plumbing works. Okay, so then how, even though you have the tools, how can you, because you don't know what you're doing, right? So that doesn't make any sense. So that's the same thing. what you're doing here is you're developing the tools, but just because you develop the tools doesn't mean it's combat ready. It doesn't mean that you know how to apply it in combat. Okay, so that's kind of like the best way that I could explain that. And another way is I like to bring up the boxing example, is that you see boxers jump rope, right? And yeah, you know, there are plenty of people that are excellent world class jump ropers. Can they box? No. Just because you could jump rope really well doesn't mean you can box. Okay, doesn't mean you're a professional boxer. No, absolutely not, because those are two different things. However, every single professional boxer jump ropes, and they jump rope really well. So not every jump roper can box, but every professional boxer can jump rope. So that's how that goes, and that's the way that I see it. Is with these partner drills, you know, just because you do the partner drills, it doesn't mean that you can fight or you could use it in self-defense, or that you understand combat. No, absolutely not. That's just like a guy who's very, very good with a jump rope. Okay, that's it. And I think it's so important to know the difference there and to understand that, because if you don't, and all you do are these drills, these partner drills, and you don't know what combat is, and you just do these partner drills, and in your brain you think you can do combat, you think you can do self-defense. Now that's scary, because you're living a lie. Okay, now if you want to do this kind of partner training and train in Filipino martial arts, and you do that all day long, and you've done tons of partner drills, do not assume that automatically if you do a crap ton of it, you will be able to do it. It'll just be automatic in combat. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard. That is not true. That is not true. It's no. That's not the way it works. Okay. That's like saying someone who jump ropes a lot like crazy, if they do enough jump roping, they'll be able to box. No way. It doesn't make sense. No way, you know, because the footwork is not the same. So you can't be like, well, you know, if they do so much jump rope, and then in real life they'll be able to move. Maybe the punches. Okay, they don't practice the punches. They just do jump roping. Okay, so I get that about the punching, but at least their footwork and their movements and their cardio, that'll all be there. No, it's not. It's different. It's different. So, and I've seen it in, you know, someone who has a tremendous amount of cardio because they did some other sport, right? They did like cycling or something, okay? And they're like semi-pro, so they have a tremendous amount of cardio. And then we spar with them, and yeah, maybe their cardio is better than an average person, but it's still not going to be, you know, comparable to someone that spars full contact all the time. It's not the same. So they don't know how to manage that, because they get punched in the face and then their cardio's gone, okay? Because they're freaking out, you know. Or when they're throwing a punch and stuff, they're not efficient, so they're wasting a lot more energy, and they don't know how to manage it. And you know, it's different. They know how to manage it for cycling, but they don't know how to manage it for, you know, combat. So it's a different thing. Okay, so please don't assume that if you do enough of these partner drills, and if you do a ton, it'll be in muscle memory, and then in real life it'll come out. No, that's not the way that it works. Okay. You need more than that. Okay, so that is a huge misconception. And you know, if you want to train Filipino martial arts just for the history, the skill, you know, love the art, which to me is wonderful, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't think and don't start walking around like you could handle yourself. And I see so many people do that, where they go, oh yeah, man, I know how to maneuver a knife and You know, I know how to use blades and stuff. So in a real life self-defense situation, I can handle myself. And they only use training knives, and they only use, you know, sticks and training knives, and they just do partner drills. That is insane. That maybe against someone that really, you know, didn't have the intent to jump you, and they didn't really know what they were doing. And, you know, you can only defend yourself against something that's not serious. That's the reality. So, you know, please don't get any of that mixed up. So I tell my students, is my point right here. I tell my students that over and over again. I want them to know, you know, that, and it doesn't mean that our training is bad. Because, like I said, we did do some brada, we did do tapi, we did do some hubad, right? We did do stick disarms. None of that was realistic. None of it, right? And that's okay. That's okay. You're learning attribute. It's like the jump rope thing. It's okay. You can do that, you know? But now there's other stuff. And then this is the last part that I'm going to talk in this video, and also in our training. One of the last things that we did was I said, in real life, we can bypass all of this, the hubad, the sombrada, the tapi. We bypass all of it, and I'm just going to choke you out with a stick. That's the way it's going to go down in real life. You know, I'm not going to sit here and bang with you. I'm not going to be, because then no matter how skilled you are, I mean, you're just going to be trading shots. So I don't want to be in medium range. I'm going to be in long range or in close range, and I don't want to be on the ground. So out of the 4 ranges, there's 2 that I want to be in, and there's 2 that I don't want to be in. So long range, close range is good. Medium range and ground range is no way. And because I say there's no way, think of my martial arts background, right? I've trained in Muay Thai kickboxing, and a lot of that is medium range. I've trained in boxing. I've trained in savat, you know. I've trained in full contact karate. So those are medium range combat, okay? And then I've done trained in various grappling styles. I'm not saying I'm good at kickboxing or the wrestling grappling stuff. No, I'm not. I am not good at those. But I have trained in them, and I try to continue some of it today, to this day. Why? Because even though I don't want to be in medium range and I don't want to be in ground range, my opponent may. And I'm not always going to get my way. I may be finding myself forced into medium range, or I may be forced into grappling range. So if that happens, I need to be able to at least survive and get out of there. So that's why you need, you know, the medium range training and the ground training as well. So even though those 2, I don't want to be there, but it can definitely happen. So, you know, that's why. But for close range, standing up, which is the clinch, like I said, we want to be in long range or close range. So if I go into close range, man, if you have 1 or 2 stick chokes down, I mean, like really, really get it down, then, man, it's so powerful. So we definitely practice some more of that, you know, trying to get it down. I mean, it's this time, you know, instead of doing it on the forearm, we try to do it on the meaty part of the forearm instead of on our necks, because, you know, this is painful. It's super painful. And I've done submissions, right? I've done all kinds of gi chokes, you know, rear naked chokes, all kinds of different chokes, guillotine chokes. And, man, this is way more painful. I can tell you that. This is like 10 times more painful. So we practice on the forearms. Today we actually practice on the upper arm, the bicep and the tricep, because that is thicker, so it's kind of closer to a neck size and more comparable to a human neck. It's meatier, you know, but man, when you start doing the choke right, you can feel your blood in the arm stopping. It is brutal, man. It is brutal. Now, you might be going, okay, you know, the Wmpyr, that's all great, but like for self-defense, I'm not going to be carrying a stick. Yeah, I understand that. I 100% understand that. So, one of the self-defense things that I highly recommend are keys. Okay, and I've been criticized before. They're like, keys don't have stopping power. Yeah, neither does a jab. And every single boxer on the planet practices the jab, so that just doesn't fly for me, right? That you know, hey, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying for me and my logic, it don't fly. I'm gonna learn the jab, okay, and especially me, my size, because I don't expect to knock anybody out, okay, but the keys, you attach like a kubotan onto your keys, the key ring, right? Now you have a mini stick. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a kubotan. It could be a freaking lanyard, right? Because in this case, we just need, it could be a little bit of cordage is all we need because it helps us grip when we do the chokes. So it's almost like you have like a sleeve choke. You're using your sleeves to do the choke, or you have a collar at your disposal, but it's your keys. Okay, so those of you who have done like judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm talking about. We have sleeve chokes and we got all kinds of different collar chokes, right? So the keys become that for you. So you grip that, but before you go that, because that's harder to learn, first learn it with the sticks. First learn these techniques with the stick. It's easier. And then we transition to, you know, improvised weapons. So in this case, it would be the keys. And that is, to me, very, very valuable. And it's so powerful. But it does take practice. It does take practice. There was something that one of the techniques that my student was practicing. He was practicing on stickman. You guys have seen that in my videos. And he was like, okay, I think I got the proper way to do this, and my hand needs to be underneath here. And I was like, you know, you can speculate all you want. Now try it on me, right? So like on stickman is great and everything. At least you got something you could really practice it hard on. But I was like, do it to me. So when he did it to me, he found out that, oh no, now it's like my hand won't even fit. So now I got to go on top. So he thought through stickman is 100%. It's like your hand has to be on the bottom, slide it in from the bottom and finish the choke. And then when he actually did it to me, he was like, oh, there's no space. My hand has to be on top. And I was like, that is what's so valuable, is you have to experience this stuff. Because even with stickman, it's not the real thing. So you could speculate, you could assume all this stuff. The most important thing is experience. So we want experience. We want to experience close to reality as much as possible. And that was something that I'm so glad that he got to experience that. But anyway, that pretty much covers the stuff that most of the stuff that we did today and what I wanted to talk about in this video. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening and take care, folks.